This is Newcap News with Brian Lentz.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The excitement of spring is being soured for some residents of the Lakeland region. Gerard Lampau goes out to Two Hills to assess a stench that is blowing in the wind. Some images in the story may be difficult to watch.
Spring melt is well underway across the region, but for residents in Two Hills, it's coming with an extra cost.
Everything started to back up, and a number of culverts got washed out, and a number of creeks overfilled, and everything started to pour into the main tributaries.
Benz Lake and Watts Lake suffered a lot of damage. Goliaths estimates damages in the county between $500,000 to $600,000, but then there's the concern of manure which was in the field. We
had some concerns. There was some manure being put into the field there for spreading. It's a normal procedure. Okay, it's been done in years, but because of the water levels, all of a sudden some of this water came up to the manure and started washing it down and across the road.
We're just a couple of miles west of the town of Two Hills, down Airport Road and Range Road 135. Now, what you're looking at here is about 8 to 10 rows of cow manure. Now, concerned residents alerted Newcap News to this situation, particularly as the spring melt kicked in there and the water that's behind me began to flow over this road and into the adjacent field. The adjacent field leads to the Vermilion River. The Vermilion River flows to the town of Vermilion and eventually to Lloydminster.
We have our Ag Service Board working on it. They've been monitoring it, and they've been one of the ones that had put up the flag and said that there is a concern. And now we just have to do water testing and see how we can mitigate anything, any more damage.
The situation is an environmental concern to the county and the province. Goliaths says the trouble now is to move the manure given the water level. Also, the area is prone to flooding.
I'd have to agree it is somewhat of a floodplain, but over normal circumstances, they'd probably be like you have to be so many feet away from the flowing water area.
The Natural Resources Conservation Board in an email reveals they have received 5 complaints. When water levels recede, the NRCB will investigate whether proper setbacks were followed when the manure was first placed and follow up with the operator to revise his manure storage plan when the investigation is completed. The operator did not return our calls. Gerard Lampau, Newcap News.
Lloydminster City Council passed second and third reading to the amended landfill use bylaw. Several prices will increase to reflect higher costs, and some were altered that had unfairly impacted in-town residents. Josh Ryan has more.
The amended landfill use bylaw will see new rates go into effect June 1st, with increasing prices starting New Year's Day both in 2019 and in 2020. Tipping fees are largely even, while some have increased costs to businesses and even higher prices for out-of-town patrons.
There was a few rates that appeared lower for out of town than in town. So what you'll see is that they're equal, or in some cases they'll be higher. So it certainly tried to be competitive, but also fair to all that use the landfill. You'll see a fairly consistent rate across the landfill for everyone.
The lower prices for in-town residents is to account for the investment they have to bear in the landfill.
We're the primary custodians and users and benefactors from the dollars invested in it, and we want to make sure that we keep that front and center.
These rates reflect infrastructure upgrades, regional impact of the economic downturn, and operational cost. That total cost to landfill is more than $75 per ton, which Mayor Albers says is reasonable in comparison to similar municipalities.
We've seen some charts of different communities throughout Alberta and Saskatchewan. It totally depends on where you're at. If you're Edmonton or Calgary, you can imagine it's much higher.
And ultimately, money accrued from the landfill that exceeds costs will help the city chip away at other issues.
We are putting some money away in the reserve to deal with that issue when we have to down the road.
Josh Ryan, Newcap News.
Well, it's Motorcycle Safety Month, and Alberta RCMP are reminding riders of the best driving habits and equipment to prevent incidents, and that it's up to every driver on the road to stay safe. As the threat of winter storms and ice-covered roads subsides, drivers need to remember motorcycle enthusiasts are now out enjoying the weather.
more experienced riders will be aware and know, where they're visible from another vehicle, where they're not visible from another vehicle. But sometimes people who drive cars only have never been on a motorcycle don't realize how small a bike is.
Intersections can be particularly dangerous and are locations where drivers need to pay extra attention.
Some people tend to creep out, and it causes some nervousness to somebody on a motorcycle because they don't know if they're going. And one of the things that I always try to do is make deliberate eye contact with that person, because then they've seen you.
Though Wenish has been riding a bike for most of his life, a few years ago he was involved in an accident that totaled his bike and the vehicle he collided with.
Taking a step back, I know that there's probably a couple of things that I could have done different or tried different, but things just happen so fast. So you have to be conscious all the time on a bike. You have to be really aware of the environment.
Environmental risks also include road conditions such as potholes, morning frost, or animals, and sometimes everyone needs a little reminder of what to do.
I know people who have taken a new rider course that have ridden for years, just as a refresher kind of thing.
Despite the risks, the allure of the open road is strong, bringing together riders from all backgrounds who also want to help their communities.
Through something that I really enjoy, I can also give back to the community and make friends at the same time. And those groups aren't gangs, they're bike enthusiasts. They have a good time, they go out on rides together, and it's all about fellowship, having somebody to ride with, community spirit. It's a different way to see the world. There's a freedom, there's stress relief to it. You don't have to worry about anybody or anything. And
Brian Lentz, Newcap News. The Lloydminster Catholic School Division will be introducing a dance program at 2 of their schools next year. As Michaela Henschel tells us in this week's Beyond the Classroom, the division's new partnership is on point.
The Alberta Ballet is border city bound. Starting in September, high school students at Holy Rosary will be able to take part and earn school credits in a high-level ballet program taught by industry professionals.
I think that's such a good opportunity for all of us because they work with such amazing dancers. So to have them coming to Lloydminster to work with us, I think that's such a good opportunity.
The program will allow Holy Rosary to accommodate about 40 students, giving dancers an opportunity to excel at their passion like other school athletes.
Dance isn't respected as much as the other sports sometimes, so I think it's really important that there's programs like this so that people recognize it for what it really is.
This is one more element. We have a lot of students who are interested in dance. They're in dance academies in the community, and we thought, well, let's get them involved in something in school they have a passion about too.
Mother Teresa will also be partnering with the Alberta Ballet. The school's learning vision focuses on various aspects of development, including social and emotional. The new music and movement program will provide an extension of the artistic exploration.
Just providing other outlets and channels for children to express themselves, to learn how to regulate their emotions. We're seeing that that's had a great impact on their academics and their development.
While both new programs will help students in the classroom, it also helps out parents who can't enroll their child in out-of-school activities due to time or financial restrictions.
This is another piece, we think, of just completing that vision so that children, when they're young, have exposure to all aspects of, and all different types of learning, so that they just have a better chance and a better start in their young life.
This is Newcap Sports.
Football, like hockey, is a big draw in the border city, but one team is dealing with a situation that, as Lance Phillips explains, has players on the team and their fans upset, and the reason is outside their control.
It occurs so often, it's almost become ritual. The Kings Red Dogs travel to Edmonton and lay a beating on every team in their path. the latest coming in the form of a 43-18 beatdown of the Edmonton Raiders. It's been nearly 3 years since the Red Dogs experienced a loss, and that success has always been attributed to one thing.
We've got about a dozen coaches. People laugh at the number of coaches we have, but there's a lot of expertise, a lot of years of experience, so they're getting, a well-rounded football education when they're in this program.
Of course, playing against Edmonton teams means a lot of travel. Every year, the Red Dogs are given the chance to play one home game in front of their fans, providing the players with an experience like no other.
It's a surreal feeling of both high schools. Like the atmosphere where both families from the Comp and Holy Rosary come together, and it's a big, huge crowd cheering for the Red Dogs. It's crazy.
Oh, it's cool because it shows that people care, and that makes you want to try harder and go further with football.
Unfortunately, Red Dogs players and their fans won't be given that experience in 2018. The team's only home game that was scheduled for last Saturday was canceled because up until just over a week ago, fields just like this were covered in snow.
It's tough to schedule us a home game given the early spring that we play these games. And we're playing games, and our first league game was about -10. Second game was about -8. So you need an artificial playing surface to be able to guarantee that you can push snow off and have a playable field.
And that fact is not sitting well with players or coaches.
It really sucks. The atmosphere that Lloydminster brings it's crazy.
It would be great to have these kids showcase their talents in front of sponsors, family, friends who can't always make those trips to Edmonton.
It's a little disappointing. I like to play in front of my friends and family, but not much I can do about it,
Lance Phillips, Newcap Sports, Lloydminster.
This is Newcap weather with Gerard Lampau.
Welcome back, everyone. So hitting the high teens, 18 today, starting off the day down at 0 there, and pushed up nicely with some strong winds out of the west and northwest. Still on the radar satellite, we are seeing some showers. The possibility of it is running at about a 30% chance. Let's look at this map and just put it into motion there, and you can maybe see some better idea what we're dealing with. It's not even coming in on this one here for some interesting reason. It was there in the last cycle, so we'll just leave it at that for now, because going forward, once this clears off for tomorrow there, it's honestly just a mix of sun and cloud going forward there. Let's look at temperature-wise for tomorrow, if we could there. Take a look. There you go. So again, another day on tap where we're hitting the high teens, 18s, 17s around some parts of the Lakeland, 16 out to Laklabish, 18 for Edmonton, Wainwright areas as well possible tomorrow. Then some 20s around Provost and Macklin, and off to the northeast there, 15 at Isle Cross, 17 out to Green Lake, 18 at Meadow Lake, 16 at St. Walburg, 18 for Maidstone, and 20 around the Battlefords and area for tomorrow. Let's head across the country. 16 and a mix of sun and cloud in Vancouver. Similar skies in Edmonton for 19, 8 in Whitehorse, 11 in Yellowknife. Mainly clear skies, mainly sunny even in Regina for +16, 15 in Winnipeg there. A mix of sun and cloud in this hour, partially cloudy if you look at it that way. Toronto, they were up at 26 in the last hour, down at 25 now for a mix of sun and cloud there. Light showers in Quebec for +14, mainly clear evening on the way in Halifax for 17, overcast in St. John's for 5, and out to Iqaluit there at -11, mainly sunny or mainly clear skies for their -11. Back on the prairies now, 18 and overcast in the Battlefords, and some of the cloud cover could ebb and flow on the evenings there. Could see 5 by the early hours of tomorrow morning, and then looking for 20 tomorrow as the daytime high. Winds picking up out of the west and northwest, anywhere from rounding it off 20 to about 40 kilometers per hour. At the moment, it's west and southwest at about 19 kilometers per hour. Cold Lake parts of the Lakeland region with those showers pushing in maybe around the Laklabish area, but we haven't really seen it mainly on the ground. But 18 at the moment, going down as the daytime high. Winds out of the west at about 22, and it should become fairly clear. At the moment, it's patchy cloud cover and maybe a bit more overcast at times too. 5 by the early hours of tomorrow morning, and then looking for 17 as your daytime high tomorrow. Could see 18 to be honest with you there. West and northwest winds anywhere from 20 to about 30 kilometers per hour. For ourselves, Lloydminster, Vermilion, Wainwright, Provost, 18 at the moment, and the hints of showers on the radar, getting maybe around Vegreville, somewhere between Vegreville, Monday areas there, and maybe encroaching on Vermilion, but we haven't really seen anything on the ground. So 5 by the early hours of the morning, and then 18 tomorrow as our daytime high, with the winds out of the west and northwest anywhere from 20, 25 to about 40 kilometers per hour. Going forward at 19 on Friday and overcast, still running a 40% chance we could see some form of precipitation, light showers around. But then with this 20-degree weather on tap for the weekend, we could definitely see some folks who have been eyeing up the field saying, yeah, let's take a crack at it. We've been preparing all season here. We're ready to begin seeding season. So 20 on Saturday, 24 Sunday, 23 Monday, certainly by Tuesday, if that 26 holds through, things should be dry enough to make a crack at it in the early part to the middle of next week.
Well, just before we wrap up for tonight, folks, just wanted to let you know that this is my last day at the desk.
Yeah.
I am moving on and joining the Global News team over in Regina, so
we're going to miss you, Brian.
Yeah.
Especially I'm going to miss your agriculture insights. I'm really
I can thank my parents for that one.
Yeah, no, great parents.
Yeah. Certainly.
So
it's been a really good start, and I've really appreciated it. Everything that everyone's done for me here, so.
Yeah, really going to miss you. You're going to keep a straight face. We're not going to have to get tissue to mop you up.
That's right, that's right. Not right now. Have a good night, folks.
Have a good one.